All right, Representative Jackson, thank you so much for being with us here today. We appreciate you making the drive up. So mainly what we want to know about you is just what is your platform, what is your policy, who is Derrick Jackson? And I suppose that's where we'll start. What do the people of the CSRA need to know about you and who you are?
Well, thank you for having me. And the most important thing they should know is that I'm a retired naval officer. I did 22 years in the United States Navy, retired as a lieutenant commander. Then after I retired, I went into corporate America for 10 years, worked for a phenomenal company, General Electric, where I facilitated a $1 billion portfolio. Our products went to 162 countries. But then in 2016, a good friend of mine was retiring from under the Gold Dome. Him and I had a conversation at Waffle House. Anytime somebody asks you to go to Waffle House, you may not want to go. But I ran for office and got elected in 2016. And so the last 10 years, I've been a state legislator covering District 68. Mm-hmm. But the most important thing, though, out of those 42 years of my career experience, the thing I enjoy the most is being a husband and a father. My wife and I, we have 7 amazing blended family, 4 daughters and 3 sons. In fact, I just walked our oldest daughter down the aisle a couple of weeks ago. And that's the reason why I'm running this race. But I'm going to be focusing on family. Families come first. And so I'm going to be focused on 5 priorities: family, affordability, healthcare, education, and our constitutional rights.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, first and foremost, congrats to both you and your daughter. That sounds amazing. And in the past 10 years, you have been representing Fulton County. Just what have been your main goals? What have been your main achievements that you were most proud of?
Yeah, the last 10 years, I've really been focusing on affordability. Talking about why our minimum wage is $5.15. It's been that way for 25 years. And that's the reason why a lot of folks are asking about affordability. I've been also championing to increase our teachers' salary. Why are teachers starting at $43,000? When I become governor, we're going to start them off at $55,000 and then progressively go up from there. I've been talking about senior citizens. I'm currently taking care of my 89-year-old aunt. There's no reason why seniors are being taxed out of their homes. They can't afford the medicine that they require and need. And so I've been talking about a lot of gambit things that deals with family, around affordability, healthcare. Why are we still dying in Georgia? 25 years ago, 12 counties were experiencing more deaths than births. Today, 94 counties. Why is it that 82 counties you can't find an OBGYN? 67 counties you can't find a pediatrician. So this Black maternal health is the reason why we just received an F- for women's health in Georgia. So I want to turn this F- into an A. We got to make sure that every county a woman can find an OBGYN. Men, as we get older, we're going to need a urologist. We can't find a urologist in 110 counties. And so that's the reason I'm going to be focused on healthcare. I'm going to be focused on public education. We're dealing with an antiquated formula from 1985, the QBE formula. We can't build a 21st century public education system based on a formula that was over 40 years ago. And so that's the reason why I'm going to be focusing on these things from family, healthcare, affordability, public education, and then our constitutional rights.
Mm-hmm. And logistically, just how do you plan to go about implementing these changes?
Yeah, as governor, you have to exercise that bully pulpit, right? Just in case if we can't flip the House Democratic or the Senate Democratic, because I need one of those chambers, but just in case they're both are Republican control, I'm going to have my veto pen, right? We're going to make sure that we can constantly show up. And that's why it matters most. Who is our governor? And I'm the best and the most qualified, uniquely qualified gubernatorial candidate in the history of Georgia. No other candidate ever had 22 years of military experience. That sounds like commander-in-chief. No other gubernatorial candidate had 10 years of corporate America and 10 years as a legislator. That sounds like a CEO. And so I'm the best and most qualified candidate. When you look at the Constitution of Georgia, there are only 2 roles that the governor must fulfill: commander-in-chief and the CEO. And no other candidate, Democratic or let me start that one. No other Democratic candidate or Republican candidate can fulfill those 2 roles like I can.
Now, taking a more local lens, what do the people of the CSRA, what should they know about your platform most and foremost?
Well, they should know that I'm going to be focused on rural Georgia. My mother was born and raised right here, not too far from here, Burke County, Waynesboro, Georgia. But she left Georgia in 1960 looking for a better life. She went up to New York in pursuit of her nursing career, which she did start it. But I came 6 years later right there in New York. And the values that she instilled in me and my siblings were straight out of rural Georgia. How to make sure that we don't leave anybody behind, how we take care of the least of these. And so that's the kind of governor I will be. But not only myself, but my wife, Camilla, she's from Albany, Georgia. And so when you have a governor and a first lady from the rural parts of our state that understands the plight of our families and our friends who are residing in rural Georgia, what better person, what better couple to have in that governor's mansion, one that's from Burke County, values from Burke County and values from Albany, that's leading the state of Georgia.
And what do you see as the biggest issues plaguing this part of the state, and what are your plans to address them?
Yeah, I think, I think all the five that I mentioned. There's a reason why I'm focused on family, because as I crisscross Georgia, 65% of my time has been in the rural parts of our state. And without a doubt, especially from Albany to Muskogee to the coastline, your hospitals are closing. That's the reason why a lot of our families and friends in the rural parts of Georgia are dying at an alarming rate. No one should have their death certificate stamped preventable death. That's wrong. So I'm going to focus on family. I'm going to focus on healthcare. But the public education, what we discovered during COVID, we were asking our teachers and superintendents in the rural parts to do the same things that we were doing in Atlanta. But you don't have the broadband and the internet capabilities and capacity in the rural parts of our state. And so why are we asking you to do the same thing that we're doing up in the Atlanta metro area? So I'm going to be that governor that get outside of 285, make sure I continue to drive growth and development and fulfill all the resources that rural Georgia needs. That's the reason why I'm running for governor, because you need to have a governor that understands the rural parts of our state and going to show up, speak, and engage, and then get out of the way. Because that's what they're asking us to do. Bring us the resources and then get out of the way, because you all know what you need in the rural parts of our state. We got to stop trying to dictate from Atlanta and say, this is what you need in Augusta, this is what you need in Savannah, this is what you need in Brunswick. We got to stop that. We just need to make sure that we give you the resources, keep you on the forefront of our mind, and then get out of the way. So that way our small black farmers in particular, our schools, our hospitals are getting the necessary resources and to do the things that we need to make sure rural Georgia is getting a quality of life like we are getting in the Atlanta metro area.
And then speaking more broadly, of course, a lot of Americans are worried about hyperinflation, affordability. Just, I'm sure a lot of residents in the CSRA want to know, what are your plans to address that?
Yeah, so first thing first, we're going to increase this minimum wage. There's no reason why Georgia's minimum wage is still $5.15. It's been that way for the last 25 years. So let's bump up that. And I have a bill, I've introduced a bill, House Bill 600, to show in a phased approach. We're going to go from $5.15 the very first year to $15, the second year to $20, and if our economy is great, we'll go to $27. $27 is a livable wage. That way you can live where you want to live, send your children to whatever schools they need to, and make sure you get an opportunity to go on vacation. We're going to make sure affordability is a past tense, but right now it's a present tense, because we can see the cost of eggs, the cost of gas, especially gas right now, while we're dealing with this unconstitutional war, right? Our gas prices continue to go up. We got to deal with these tariffs. And so we're going to make sure affordability is a past tense. But the other aspect is around that healthcare piece. We want our families and friends in the rural parts to stay alive. About 13 hospitals right now possibly can close in the next 5 years in rural Georgia. That's wrong. That's wrong. And so I'm going to focus on affordability like no other. I'm also going to introduce a grants program for those young entrepreneurs, a $50,000 grant, not a loan, a $50,000 grant, where you can start your business in Georgia, but there's only one string attached. You got to keep your business in Georgia. That $50,000 can help you get started, to start your business, to grow your business, to help market your business. Whatever you see that's worthy for that $50,000, you need to know that a governor is going to stand up for small businesses and farmers and nonprofit organizations. Mm-hmm. That's how we're going to tackle this.
Yeah, yes, sir. And for those who policy-wise may stand on the other side of the aisle, may hear all of these potential changes that you're proposing and, may stand against them, what do you have to say to them?
For those naysayers out there, they believe in my programs too. They believe in the legislation that I've been introducing the last 10 years too. They've just been saying it quietly because they know it's the right thing to do. Listen, our economy should never ever leave not one family behind. That's why I'm pro-labor. When we have a strong labor, the unions across Georgia, then we have a stronger middle class, working families. And this is not something new. This is not a novel idea. FDR did it during the Great Depression. Barack Obama did it during the Great Recession. We got to make sure that we invest in our people. We got to, because our people, our citizens across Georgia, they are our family, they are our friends, they are our neighbors, they are our farmers. Why wouldn't I want to invest in the citizens of Georgia? It's the right thing to do. We got to stop leaving families behind. And that's one of the things that the Navy taught me. That's one of the things that my mother taught me. We should never, ever leave not one individual behind. We got to take care of the least of these. And as a godly man, I'm going to do my part to make sure that we invest the $14.3 billion surplus. That should be reinvested back into our citizens. That's what I would do.
And is there just anything else you want to say to the people of the CSRA?
Yeah, the bottom line is I'm the most qualified, uniquely qualified. No other gubernatorial candidate, Democratic or Republican, can match my 42 years of leadership, experience, and service. When you think about the commander-in-chief, you have to think about my 22 years in the United States Navy, retiring as a lieutenant commander. When you think about being the CEO for this state, you have to think about my 10 years in corporate America. And when you think about a legislator, understanding how to get legislation done, no other candidate right now can even match my 10 years as a legislator. That's 42 years. I'm prayerfully asking everyone to vote for the most qualified candidate ever, and that's Derrick Jackson on May 19th.